All right, let's jump right in. Today, we are objectively breaking down a incredibly complex, high-stakes topic, the global API sourcing landscape. We're going to do this from Abiozen, which is a global B2B e-commerce platform for research chemicals, generic APIs, and quality testing services. Listen, if you're an analyst, a chemist, or a buyer trying to secure bulk leads or manage global retail networks, you already know how critical and honestly, how ridiculously challenging this area is. So let's unpack exactly how verified sourcing actually works.
Okay, let's dive into this. Think about every finished medicine you've ever taken. It didn't just magically appear in a pharmacy, right? The reality is, it started thousands of miles away undergoing some highly complex chemical process. So the absolute bedrock question for procurement teams is simple. Do you actually know where your APIs are coming from? And more importantly, can you truly trust them?
Section 1. The API Sourcing Challenge.
Look, the global active pharmaceutical ingredient market is absolutely booming. It's worth hundreds of billions of dollars. But, as our source material quickly points out, navigating thousands of global manufacturers comes with massive risks. Without deep industry access, it's pretty much impossible to tell world-class manufacturers apart from the rest. And, whether you're hunting for bulk leads or managing global retail, that lack of visibility leads to critical vulnerabilities. Unverified suppliers, regulatory noncompliance, the terrifying risk of counterfeit materials, and inevitably, brutal supply chain disruptions.
And we really need to emphasize the severity here. This isn't just about losing a little margin on a bad deal. A single sourcing mistake creates a massive cascading effect. It completely derails your product timelines, triggers serious regulatory action, and at the end of the day, it affects patient safety. For the analysts and procurement teams making these calls, the stakes literally could not be higher.
Section 2. The global API landscape. Now, what's really interesting about this is the sheer scale of India's role. It is staggering to realize that India is responsible for 20% of the entire world's generic API supply. We're talking about massive, standard-setting manufacturers driving this, companies like Divi's Laboratories or Aurobindo and Dr. Reddy's.
But obviously, you've got to look at the whole map because each region has its own core strength. India dominates generic APIs. China is the absolute powerhouse for raw materials and intermediates, though, navigating compliance there requires extreme care. Europe is your hub for high-potency, complex, and biologic APIs, and the United States leads the charge in CDMO innovation. In fact, for teams specifically targeting the U.S. market, finding compliant contract manufacturing is a huge priority. Each region has specific strengths, but each brings its own unique risks. But here's the daily reality that makes this whole landscape so incredibly tough. Knowing where to go is one thing, but market access itself is a massive barrier. The frustrating truth is that most top-tier manufacturers just do not sell directly to smaller buyers. You might know exactly who has the best API, but you literally can't get in the door.
Section 3. Abiozen's 3-pillar framework. Let's move to and see how this builds into Abiozen's chronological 3-pillar solution for resolving this exact access and verification problem. Because as a B2B platform, this is exactly what they're built to bridge.
It all starts with Pillar 1, the verified network. This is the rigorous pre-qualification mechanics taken care of before a buyer ever makes contact with a supplier. We're talking strict GMP certification checks, deep reviews of regulatory filings, audit history analysis, and verifying comprehensive quality testing services. It's doing all the heavy lifting of due diligence up front.
Then there's Pillar 2, global reach and local expertise. Because the market is so spread out, having an on-the-ground presence in key hubs like India, China, and Europe is crucial. That localized expertise ensures teams aren't just finding a supplier, they're finding the exact right supplier that fits their specific product, market, and unique regulatory needs.
Finally, Pillar 3 is end-to-end support. This means managing the whole process well past the introduction, covering initial sourcing, all that heavy documentation, coordinating logistics, and providing ongoing supply chain management. The result of this total framework? Faster sourcing cycles, radically reduced compliance risk, and actual, genuine confidence in your supply chain.
Section 4. Proof of verification. And this brilliantly illustrates the tangible trust signals that set a verified sourcing network apart from a company just trying to go it alone. The credibility points here are rigorous. GMP certifications recognized by major bodies like the FDA, the EMA, and the WHO, plus full chain of custody documentation, cold chain logistics, and dedicated market-specific regulatory support. It's the gold standard.
So, the crucial point is summed up perfectly in this quote from the source script. Pharmaceutical sourcing isn't just a procurement exercise, it's a regulatory and quality function. Whether you're a chemist sourcing a single research chemical or managing a massive global supply chain, that standard simply cannot waver.
Section 5. The final takeaway. The source material leaves us with this final, non-negotiable reality. In pharmaceutical sourcing, verified isn't optional, it's everything. If you're navigating these global supply chains, Abiozen invites you to visit abiozen.com for a consultation. But I'll leave you with this to think about. If an auditor walked into your facility tomorrow, could you honestly trace every single API back to a verified compliant source? Thanks for joining me to unpack this, and I'll see you in the next explainer.